Hi everyone, let's discuss Angular tips for developers. So first one is we should use TrackBy with ng4 for better performance. Okay, so the TrackBy with ng4 is used to improve the performance, especially with the large lists. Okay, and by default, Angular re-renders the entire list when a change occurs. So using TrackBy, it helps Angulars to track individual items and only updates the ones that changes. Okay, so instead of re-rendering the entire list, only the updated one will be tracked. Okay, so track by it reduces the unnecessary DOM updates and boosts the performance. Okay, so the next tip is use lazy loading for modules. Okay, so we use lazy loading to load modules only when they are needed, and it reduces the initial load time. Okay, so lazy loading modules, it helps our application to become faster by only loading the code necessary for the current route. Okay, so lazy loading, it makes our application faster and improves the performance. Now the third tip is we should leverage Angular's dependency injection. Okay, so we should use Angular's dependency injection to manage the services and makes our code more testable. Okay, so dependency injection, it allows the Angulars to automatically inject services into the components or other services, and it promotes the better separation of the our code. Okay, and it makes our code more modular, testable, and easier to maintain. Okay, that's why we use dependency injection. Now the next one is we should use Angular forms for handling user input. Okay, so we have template driven forms, we have reactive forms to handle the user input efficiently. Okay, and reactive forms has a more leverage because it provides more flexibility and control over the form validation, but template driven forms are easier to implement for the simple forms. But if we have complex forms layout, then we should use reactive forms. Okay, so forms in Angular, it simplifies the forms creation, validation, and management. Now the next one is we should use ng on init for initialization. Okay, so ng on init is a lifecycle hook and it is used for initialization logic in Angular components. So Angular lifecycle hooks, it provides a good way to handle the component initialization. And ng on init, it is commonly used to fetch data or set up the component state. Okay, so we should use ng on init to keep our component logic organized and clean. And the sixth one is we should use async pipe to handle observables. Okay, so we should use async pipe in the templates to automatically subscribe and unsubscribe from the observables. So this async pipe, it handles the subscriptions. So it makes it simple to work with observables directly in the template. Okay, so the async pipe, it simplifies the observable management and reduces the need for the manual subscription handling. Okay, basically it is used in the templates to work with the observables. So now the next one is, so we should keep the component small, keeps the component small. Okay, why? Because it will increase the performance, because it will make the code maintained and reusable across our application. Okay, so smaller components, it leads to the better maintainability and reusability. Okay, and it helps in the performance increase of our application. Now the next one is we should use directives for reusable logic. Okay, so we should create custom directives or inbuilt directives for the reusable logic, and directives allows us to encapsulate logic and reuse it across the different components, making our application more modular. So directives helps in the reusing the logic, and it helps in the increase the performance of our application. Okay, so the next one is we should use ng class and ng style for dynamic styling. Okay, so we should use ng class and ng style for dynamic styling in our templates. So these directives, they let us allow to apply the classes and styles conditionally depending on our component state. Okay, so the next one is use HTTP client for API calls. So what does it mean? So Angular provides HTTP client service that is used to make the HTTP calls. Okay, so this HTTP client service, this one, it simplifies the sending request and handling the responses, and it has built-in support for observables. So this HTTP clients, it makes the data handling much easier. And guys, all these points I have created the videos for all these things in details, so you can go through the videos for my Angular tutorial for the better understanding of these concepts.